I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? I live inside my own world of me.
Decided to pull all the sheet metal out and just kind of lay it out to visibly see here, because this is probably the first and the last time everything will be all off like this. About to start getting these quarters and rear section on for good, so I figured it was kind of cool just to lay everything out here and see. Obviously this is all the brand new sheet metal from AMD, the quarters, trunk gutters, deck filler panel, and tail panel. More than likely going to reuse this stock deck lid here. The doors, for people who don't know, are in iffy shape. They probably could be reused with some patches, but then again they also have some pretty big gouges in them, so use these for now to kind of get everything set, but might do skins down the line or all new doors, not totally sure. Fenders on the other hand are pretty rough. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with them, because 70 Charger fenders are extremely hard to find, and if you can find them, you're gonna pay a pretty penny. So they don't look horrible. Obviously they got some rust that goes through, but the killer is the inside. Across pretty much the entirety of it is all completely pitted. So if I were to, you know, cut, say, this section out, replace it, you're just welding to pitted metal on the inside, even if the outside looks good. So I don't totally know. Got a couple ideas as of right now, but we'll kind of see where that lands, just like everything else. The main reason I wanted to do that is basically to take pictures of this, and then once the car is, you know, complete and finished, can look back on this and say pretty much what it started as there. So it's kind of funny to see all this. For those who don't know, this whole kind of building stuff and social media thing started out by building model cars. That's how I saved up for the Duster. So seeing this is basically just a giant model car. We got ourselves a solid base, a solid shell of a car. Now it is time to start slinging some sheet metal on. I have the door dialed, completely set in place where I need it to be, and the reason I know that is by looking at this gap on the bottom here. When I made these rockers, obviously I had the factory quarters on, and the doors were still mounted on the factory front door hinges with the front door jambs. So I took measurements off that. This gap is good. If you look at it exactly from the side, it follows a nice contour, this kind of angled curved piece. Now as we get more far forward, the door kicks out. So about, I don't know, maybe 85 to 90% of the door is good, except for this, I don't know, front. Maybe, we'll say about 8 to 10 inches. It starts to kind of kick out. At the front here, you can really see where that kicks out, and that is something I mentioned when I did those videos on making these rockers. I'm mocking this up, so I did remember that. I have to go through and fix that. I knew this was going to be all sorts of whack going into it. This is going to be the last thing I attack, because when I made this cowl here, factory, it's supposed to kick out, but with my custom front door jambs, I wanted it to basically go parallel in line with the rocker. So that's why we got such a big gap there. I'm gonna have to make a piece shape this to match the cowl. Like I said, I know that beforehand. That's going to be a challenge. Looking back, should I have just left the factory, style of the cowl to eliminate all this work? Possibly, but I think in the end, I think it'll be a nice streamlined look once this all matches up here. Gonna have to go through, design and engineer some door hinges. So yeah, lots of work ahead on that front. Back to talking about the project that we're actually working on though. Like I said, doors in the right spot. I went to a car show, I don't know, about a month or two ago, and was looking at some chargers because I really wanted to see this, how the back of this door lines up with this door jamb right here. And this part right here is in line, just like you could see in that picture there. So I took a bunch of notes on that, took some pictures because I could not find anything on that. That's what I really needed to know to get this door in place. With that being in place, the bottom jamb being good, everything kind of snugged down, shimmed out where I need to be. You can see this quarter panel. We got a pretty big gap all the way around. So need to tuck that quarter in. It's just kind of held in place with Clecos right now. It's nothing crazy. Along the side, it needs to kind of come down. It needs to be adjusted in every which direction. But the biggest thing is if you're looking directly above right here, you can see the quarter kicks out. The easiest way to tell is this gap right there. So the quarter needs to be brought in and brought down as of right now. So I need to figure out how exactly I'm gonna go through and do that. But once this is looking pretty decent, we'll go through, we'll match that on the other side and then work our way back. Getting closer on this quarter panel here. Just took a step back and I'm looking at that. God, that looks so cool. I love this angle of the car. Everyone thinks these cars are, super boxy and square, but if you look at it from this angle here, it's practically got itself a factory wide body there. So I love that door line, how it just curves in like that. And then these quarter panels, how they swoop out. It just one of the many reasons why this is my favorite car of all time here, second gen Charger. It's pretty tricky because you got this main line right here on the top of the quarter that then goes down to the door, into that scoop. And then you got about, what is it? I think, yeah, 3 other body lines, going all the way down. And then you got to get this lined up and then this gap. And I don't really understand why Chrysler engineers did this, but there's just radius right here, and then just like kicks in on a little angle. So trying to get all that to align. Not totally dialed yet. Like I said, we're getting closer. It's been a little bit tricky, but it's definitely a lot better than it was before. So making some solid progress. Taking breaks between getting the door lined up and then bouncing to the back, making sure everything else is lining up pretty good. I got my center marks on this all lined up with the laser. Got that centered on the rear window channel, so that's good. Just kind of mocking up the trunk gutter, seeing how everything fits. So one step at a time. This is going to be a process of the panels on and off and on and off, measuring, making sure everything lines up. I got this line that I need to line up with the roof there. I need this line to line up. There's a panel on the inside here that goes against the roof structure. So I think that that might have to go down a little bit. We'll just kind of see. But step one, getting this door proper, or at least very close to proper. And then kind of work my way back because everything is based off that door and that door jamb. Getting this tail panel to the quarter has been a bit tricky because this factory piece right here, who knows how straight this is. This is just cast aluminum, so like you could see it lined up right there. It does not line up well at all. I think this is bent and warped in pretty much every which way because like if we look over here, this sits this way about a 16th. It doesn't line up with that, but if I slide it over that way anymore, then the body line doesn't line up with the radius point on this, and this right here is pretty thrown off. So I kind of had a feeling I was going to end up having to make these end caps. It's kind of looking like I'm going to have to, unless I can, modify these. But it's like at that point, I might just make my own out of steel kind of extend the quarter and make it all one piece. That way there's not two pieces sandwiched on top. So we'll see. Next step is to lower the table down, slide everything over, re-level that, go through, get the door on the passenger side good, get the passenger side quarter, get this deck filler panel set where I think it needs to be, and then work my way back with the trunk gutters, tail panel, deck lid, and then these little extension pieces. This is officially the first time all the panels have been on the car. It actually looks like a car again. So I just got the deck lid on after spending a lot of time with this tail panel here. Both the quarters are looking good. Doors are on, deck filler panel is on. Everything is 100% completely on now. So that makes me pretty happy. This deck lid may look like it's a little bit off, and you can see that gap there is completely off, and that's because I don't have a trunk seal, so you either have to put a little pressure from the back to push it up against those shims, or you got to hold it from underneath, and obviously I can't do that while filming. But trust me, that panel is dialed there. I got the gaps from the sail panels to the deck filler panel dialed in as well. That was quite the challenge. I got these clamps underneath them here. See, I got that clamp right there, and then I got one along the other side as well. And those clamps basically allow me to adjust that gap. So if I want the gap, you know, to tighten up there, I can go through and twist the clamp to close it. Or if I need the gap to get a little bit bigger to match it along the deck filler panel there, I can obviously loosen up the clamp. And that's been a huge help in getting all of these gaps lined up, are those little clamps. You can get a pack of, I don't know, 10, 15 of them for like 20 bucks at Menards, and that's kind of been my strategy here, is clamping all the panels to the existing roof structure there, or clamping the panels to each other. And then once I get those clamped in place, go through and drill the holes for the clecos, or either the self tappers, because I have not welded a single thing on this yet. Everything is either still clamped together, has self tappers like you can see over here, or is cleco together. And the reason for that being is, although I got everything, you know, in the spot it needs to be where I want it, I still have room for adjustment if something needs to be adjusted, and it helps me along the way to even get to this point to go through and adjust it. But the next step for this is going to be blowing everything back apart, so taking every single panel off. I need to go through and drill and put in a few more clecos before I do that though, just so I know where the panels go back on in the exact precise location I have them now. Once I take all the panels off, we'll go through and sand down the coating on the AMD panels there, bring those down to bare metal only on the spots where the pinch welds are gonna be, throw some weld through primer on that, and then toss everything back on, get it clecoed and self-tappered in place. Got quite the setup going on here, and it's pretty nice out tonight. I got lucky, middle December, about 50 degrees, so I'll take it. It's perfect time to tear everything back off, obviously, and get the pieces I needed to prep on these quarter panels. Some of you guys remember this table here, which I used just about every day for everything until I built the chassis table and built myself that workbench there. But kind of funny to use it again here. Obviously, this quarter panel has a bunch of different pinch weld places and joints where panels are going to be overlapping. The only thing that I need to prep as of right now is this pinch weld lip on the back of the sail panel. So you can see all these small holes for the clecos in there, and then I just went through and drilled all the holes for the plug welds. They're all 1.5 inches apart, 3/8 down on this lip, and then they're a 1/4 inch hole. So I think that'll work. I didn't have enough space to do one up front here because of this Cleco hole, so I'll just have to drill that on the car. That shouldn't be a huge issue. Just be extra careful on that, but I'm gonna go ahead, tape this off, toss some weld through primer on it, let that dry. That should be good to go. I already did that to this side here, so get both these done, then we can start putting everything back on the car there. Can see and just saw, I got the car all put back together here. The quarter panels in theory should be on for the final time. Nothing is welded in place just in case I have to adjust something, but measurement wise, side to side, front to back, top to bottom, checks out completely. That was a lot of time with the tape measure and the laser level, making sure everything is correct. Another thing I love about this chassis table is I can just measure straight to that. I know that is straight and level, and don't have to worry about measuring to the ground and adjusting for that. Obviously the gaps aren't 100% yet, and that's because I don't have any of the seals. So like door seals, deck lid seals. So this is gonna sit a little bit low, like you can see there, but side to side, we're looking pretty dialed, so I'm happy with that. I ordered a panel gap tool, so hopefully that'll come in within the next few days, so I can start really dialing these in. I'll go ahead, get some AMD seals for these things, get them set in place. So I'm really happy with that. This deck filler panel up here was probably the hardest part because you have this gap right here, and this piece pretty much dictates the width of the quarter panels side to side, which then in theory dictates the width of the deck lid and these rear quarter extensions as well. So if it's, 16th or 1/8 inch off up here, that could be 1/4 to 1/2 inch difference in the back. And I learned that the hard way. So a lot of times of taking this panel on and off, adjusting stuff, getting the gaps right. That's why I got those spacers in there just to hold the gap. And then underneath, like I showed you guys earlier, I have the vice grips on the one side and then that clamp on the other side there, so I can kind of adjust it by hand. Passenger side here is pretty much the same all the way across. Got 3 Clecos up there, and then I got some self-tapping sheet metal screws on the inside of that door jamb, holding the quarter to the rear door jamb channel piece. So all in all, looking pretty good. I'm very happy with how this all came out, getting all these lines lined up. Like I mentioned, there's a multitude of different gaps, multitude of different angles. Everything needs to be perfect. So before I actually start welding stuff, I will double, triple, quadruple check everything. But right now it's looking pretty good. It actually looks like a car again, which is nice. And again, we wouldn't be at this step here without the help and support from AMD Autometal Direct. Every new panel you see on this car here is from them. I've had pretty good luck fitment wise with everything. I'm sure if I was just replacing one panel on a complete car, it'd be a lot easier and a lot less time consuming. But since we're basically building the entire car from scratch at this point, they make that possible. AMD also just launched a full new Mopar catalog on their website, so you can go over there. I'll toss the link up above here. But any part they offer, sheet metal wise, bumpers, glass, interiors, all listed through there. So they got it all broke down by category, from A bodies to B bodies to E bodies. So anything you need to basically get your car to this point here, or just simple stuff to get it back up and running, or fixes that you've been wanting to do, they got it. Other than that, that's gonna wrap it up for this video here. It's pretty awesome to be able to stand back finally and have this thing look like a 1970 Dodge Charger again, rather than just a completely stripped down shell. So makes it feel like you're making some progress. Next video, we're gonna tweak these panels just a little bit, and I think that's gonna start to set the tone for the appearance of this build and for what else is to come with the rest of this thing right here.